Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. England, Tunisia, Harry Kane steals the headlines, but what took him so long? Why did England struggle in the second half, and why did Tunisia nearly get a point? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to break down England against Tunisia. England, Tunisia, England saving it for late. Harry Kane with 2 goals. Obviously, they came late. Both poachers' goals. It shows his growth. It shows his evolution. But the 2-1 scoreline and the late goal suggest that this may have not been as easy as England fans may have thought it would be. And it wasn't. They started good in the first half, kind of struggled in the second half. What went right? What went wrong? When we break it all down, we have England in the 3-5-2, Kane and Sterling up front, Young and Trippier as their wingbacks, and in midfield, Lingard, Ali just ahead of Henderson. Tunisia 4-3-3. When you break down how their side was, you have Kazri up front, Ben Yusuf and Sleety on the flanks, and midfield, Sassi, Skirhiri, and they have Badri. How did they really frustrate England in the first half? It looked like it was going to be a riot. They dropped into more of a 4-5-1. One of the big issues that they had, and one of the themes of this match, is they didn't really press Jordan Henderson until later on in the first half. So Henderson was able to pick up balls, play reverse ball diagonals into the channels, and that kind of started what could have been an England onslaught. There wasn't much of a press on the England center backs as well, but perhaps that was schemed so that they could get Maguire and perhaps Stones or Walker higher up the pitch so that they could force them to concede possession. That didn't really happen. But when we think about Henderson, he was pivotal, picking up the ball from deep positions, playing those diagonals out, looking to get Trippier forward in behind the defense in half space. He did do that on a few occasions. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But the key element here was the midfield. They operated well. The problem here with England is that, can they control games with this midfield? That could be an issue later on in the tournament. Here, it wasn't, specifically in the first half, because as Tunisia was trying to get up higher up the pitch, what would happen was that if Henderson wasn't playing the diagonals, and he was, you would see Ali and Lingard break into space in the channels, constantly charging in. You look at the first chance that they have, it's Henderson with the reverse ball, playing that ball into that space, and what happens is that it's Ali breaking in, playing the ball across, and that was key. That was pivotal in their first chance. We look at another opportunity that they have, again, this time, no, well, the first time it was Lingard. This time it was Ali picking up the ball, playing a reverse ball into Lingard in half space. The cross goes into the box. Sterling should score, but he doesn't. It's an easy tap in, but he didn't really have a great game or in the final third, and that was pivotal. But that is what the England midfield was doing. They had Ali and Lingard constantly breaking into that space in the half spaces, kind of trying to get the ball into the channels, trying to break forward at will, and it was pivotal. Tunisia didn't know how to deal with it, and it took them till the second half to really get going. You look up front, you have Harry Kane, you have Raheem Sterling. What did they do very well? Well, they were dropping deep. Whenever they dropped in and offered an additional midfielder, that was pivotal. They were linking play. There are 2 key chances that both of them created just by dropping deep into that space. There was one opportunity where Kane picked up the ball in midfield, held off his marker, clipped it into a left channel for Ashley Young, picking it up. He delivered a cross to the far post. Who is it? It's Lingard breaking in, but however, unmarked at the far post, but he guided his shot into the ground and wide. That's an opportunity. That is key. Then there's another opportunity where Sterling drops into midfield. He picks up the ball. No one really does anything to him in terms of pressure. He's able to play it to Walker, get steaming forward, and what happens is that Walker locates Trippier, making a deep run into half space behind the defense. What does Trippier do? He pulls the ball back. It doesn't get to anyone, but it falls to Jordan Henderson, who volleys his effort on goal. These are chances that England were constantly creating. If it wasn't the center forwards dropping deep or linking play with one another, it was the shuttlers pushing into those spaces in half space, darting into the channels, trying to get on the ball. It was Henderson playing diagonals, and the other key element here was Trippier. We already mentioned one incident where he got the ball in that space and tried to get forward and deliver across into the box. Another opportunity was when he was pushing forward, and what did he do? And this was a key moment. You see Harry Kane, he drags the defender out of space, and who makes the run into that space? It's Lingard, bombing forward, getting onto it, breaking free on goal, chips the keeper, but it hits the post. But that was what England was all about, getting their shuttlers into that space, trying to get Kane and Sterling going. I know they didn't play that well in terms of getting shots on target, but they combined well. When they dropped deep, that was great. But Raheem Sterling, once he got into the final third, he wasn't very good, and that could be worrying. Although England do have other players that they could slot in. They could play Ali up front there and then push Loftus-Cheek, who came off the bench and had a really good game, a very good cameo. They could play Rashford there as well. Both those players came off the bench and tried to create a spark in the second half, but Tunisia did turn things around. They did equalize due to a penalty, and what happened after that was now they dropped a bit deeper in the second half. This was the key moment that really kind of changed everything. They moved to a back five, and they kind of matched England in that aspect. So they moved to a back five. What happens is that Ben Youssef became more of a right wing back. He did get forward at times, but he was a right wing back. The midfield stayed the same, and Sleety played right behind Khazri, who as the first half wore on, we saw Sassi and we saw Badri kind of push forward to press Henderson, but they didn't really limit his threat. He was still in the second half playing those diagonals into Trippier. Trippier was trying to get forward, but what happened here is when they moved to more of a back five, what happened was that England couldn't really get anything going. The runs into the channel stopped because now they had more men behind the ball, and when they moved to a back three, everything England tried to do was down the middle, and that was pivotal because now they couldn't get anything to the middle. They were forced into wide areas, crosses into the box didn't really work, and when they were trying to find that supply in the channels, it wasn't working for them. They turned to Loftus-Cheek, they turned to Rashford. That didn't work out in their favor. So when you look at it as a whole, then they had Khazri kind of making darting runs into space behind the defense, didn't get an opportunity to score, but there were danger signs there. Khalifa came on for him and also had a chance where he ran across Walker, but Walker recovered. But when you look at it as a whole, they struggled in the first half in those channels. They struggled in half spaces, but when they dropped a bit deeper, moved to a five-man defense, England didn't have any answers, and it looked like they were gonna settle for a tie because as it wore on, what became a 5-3-2 became more of a 5-4-1, and England couldn't create any chances. They pushed men forward. Some were saying perhaps they could take off a center back and add in another striker, bring in another attacking player. That could have been a good option for them. They didn't do it. They lucked out and got the Harry Kane winner due to poor defending from the set piece. But when you look at it as a whole, England's initial game plan was good. They should have been up a few goals, but when Tunisia has changed their tactics, moved to a 5-4-1, defended a bit deeper, clogged the space in the channels, add an extra body in the box, they looked much better. Not much of a counter-attacking threat. They didn't look like they were going to score, but they stifled England from getting and creating chances, and that was pivotal. England as a whole, when they did drop without the ball, they did look good in that sense. They moved to also a five-man back line. The shuttlers and Lingard and Ali pressed out and marked the fullbacks going forward, and they were solid as a unit, never really breached. But again, they were mimicked by Tunisia in the second half, and they were unable to create chances. And going forward, when they play a Panama, that could be an issue, because if they replicate that, they could have problems breaking them down. And what happens when they play Belgium? There are a few weaknesses here that could be exploited, but on the day, all that matters is that they got 3 points. But that second half where Tunisia changed things around, dropped a bit deeper, that could be an issue going forward. But let me know what you guys think. Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.